3, 2, 1. Hello folks, welcome back to OTD, also known as On The Deck. My name is Adam Arduna, this is my mom Gina, and we are full in this bracketology that is going on for everything. We just found out the results of where everyone's being seeded last night, so we're going by region. We're going with, now we're going to start with the East region, which the #1 seed in that region is North Carolina. But before we even get to who gets to play North Carolina, we've got to see this first bunny bracket, the first round bracket with Florida Gulf Coast and Fairleigh Dickinson. Now both of these teams really are not super powerhouse basketball schools, but they are scrappy teams, and you know it's going to be fun to watch. But I don't know who to pick, because really, like I said before, you can just flip a coin and it really doesn't matter. But I think Florida Gulf Coast has been here before, so I'm going to go with Florida Gulf Coast as the bunny bracket winner for that first round.
Well, full disclosure, I don't even know where Fairleigh Dickinson is, who they are, where I don't even know. I thought that was a woman's name. I'm going Florida Gulf Coast just because I've seen them before. It's a toss-up, so I'm going Florida Gulf Coast. To me, it's not going to matter, because whoever gets, you're going up against North Carolina. Pick in the first round North Carolina. I
totally agree with that. North Carolina's going to win against any of those teams.
All right, well then we've got the #8 and the #9 seed there in the East, USC versus Providence. Again, I haven't seen a ton of the Pac-12 play this season. I did get to see Providence play a little bit, but I do think USC is not only a storied program, but from what I can tell, they've had some battles this year and have kind of stepped up. So I'm going to actually pick USC here over Providence.
Yeah, USC is a really good team. They're very athletic. They're going to be jumping out of the gym because that's what they do. There's no excuse for them to not be good. They're in LA. They should be able to get anyone they want to. But on the flip side of it, Providence is coming out of the Big East. I actually think they're playing better basketball. I think they're overall playing good team basketball, and I actually am going to pick Providence in that one over USC.
See, we don't always agree.
We don't always agree, but okay. So we've got #5, Indiana, going up against #12 seed, Chattanooga. This really isn't much of a discussion. I think Chattanooga's happy to get into the tournament, but I just think Indiana's probably going to go ahead and win that one.
No reason to rest here. I'm picking Indiana as well. #4, Kentucky versus #13, Stony Brook. Same deal. Stony Brook, I'm glad you made it in the dance. Hey, you weren't a 16 team, you were 13, but Kentucky is going to take this one. You're all Kentucky here.
Yeah, I also agree. I don't see much of a discussion here. I think Kentucky just is going to go ahead and win this one. All right, so we're going to go to the next bunny bracket out of this region. And this is another tough matchup. This is a tough draw. This is the #11 seeds again, much like you had Wichita State and Vanderbilt. Now you've got Michigan versus Tulsa. And these are some good teams right here that we're talking about. What are your initial thoughts on this?
Well, I know that they don't love being called the bunny bracket, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
I will tell you, I think this is really tough for both of these teams, just like you said, for the last grouping with Vanderbilt and Wichita State. I think Tulsa coming out of AAC, that American Conference is much more of a power conference than I think people know.
It's a lot of good schools in that conference.
They're a sleeper conference, I think, for basketball and for football.
Correct.
That being said, I think Tulsa they've been tested because they're coming out of a good conference, but Michigan, I think, is a little bit underrated. I know the last couple weeks people have had them out or on the bubble or first four out.
On the fence, whatever.
On the fence. Michigan had to play through the Big Ten, and that is a really good conference.
Tough conference.
I think the Big 12 is the best conference, but Michigan it's coming through a conference that you can't sleep on. That Big 10, they were in there beating each other up week after week, and Michigan to me is kind of like a K-State or an Oklahoma State coming out of the Big 12. You're not quite getting the love you deserve because, yeah, you've had some losses, but to quality opponents. So I'm actually going Michigan here over Tulsa. So I've got Michigan playing Notre Dame. And I guess after having said all of that about Michigan, Notre Dame, they are playing some really good basketball right now. So I'm actually going to go Michigan over Tulsa, but Notre Dame over Michigan.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Exactly what you said. I'm going to go ahead and pick Michigan over Tulsa, and I'm actually going to pick Notre Dame over Michigan as well. So couldn't have said it better myself. All right, so now we're talking about the #3 seed versus the #14 seed, West Virginia versus Stephen F. Austin. I just want to say I think Stephen F. Austin, to give them credit, is a scrappy team. Again, this is like any other year. If this was another season where you could pick some Cinderella teams, I would say maybe Stephen F. Austin could trip somebody up. I don't see it versus West Virginia. West Virginia is just way too strong, and I just don't see a loss there.
Yeah, Press Virginia is going to run Stephen F. Austin off. I'm sorry, West Virginia all the way.
Yep.
Now you got Wisconsin and Pitt, #7 Wisconsin over with #10 Pitt. I would be inclined to pick Wisconsin, but this isn't last year's Wisconsin at all. And I did get to watch Pitt, and this is a run gun, shoot you some three-point shot kind of team. I'm actually going to pick Pitt. I don't know if that's considered an upset or not, but I'm going with Pittsburgh here.
I'm also going to go Pittsburgh. Just as you mentioned, Wisconsin is not the same team as it was last year. They lost their head coach. They lost their top 3 players of last year. They still are a solid team, but they're not very dynamic.
And do you see what Nebraska did to them?
And that was actually kind of an embarrassing loss, even though not to take away from Nebraska, because they've been competitive over the last couple of years with Tim Miles as head coach. But this is not the same Wisconsin team that we're used to seeing. And I just agree with you. I think Pitt's really playing good basketball right now as well. So now we're down to the number 2 seed versus the number 15 seed, Xavier against Weber State. And I honestly don't see this being much of a matchup. We, again, think Weber State is, congratulations for getting to the tournament, but Xavier's just playing way too good.
Congratulations and my condolences. You have to play Xavier all the way there.
Exactly.
All right, so I've got matchups: North Carolina versus USC, Indiana, Kentucky, Notre Dame, West Virginia, and then I have Pitt and Xavier. What have you got?
Yes, I've got actually North Carolina versus Providence, Indiana versus Kentucky, Notre Dame versus West Virginia, and Pittsburgh versus Xavier. So we're just one game off there.
One game off. All right. So ladies first here.
Yes, here we go.
All right, I got North Carolina, USC. I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. North Carolina.
I totally agree. I think North Carolina is just, again, like I've mentioned with a lot of other teams, they're really playing their best basketball right now, which is what you want. The reason why I say that is because that's what you want. You want to be playing your best ball going into March, going into the tournaments, and they're just too much to handle for any of the other teams. So I'm going to go North Carolina as well. So now we've got Indiana versus Kentucky. This is one we could sit on here and talk about for a lot longer.
All day.
There's a lot of great points. Very 2 historic teams. I just really, I'm excited because this is going to be a really good game. I do like both teams. I just think Kentucky's got a little bit more of an edge on them than Indiana, but a lot of people are picking Indiana.
A lot of people are picking Indiana. I am not one of them. I'm going Kentucky. I think Calipari has got a little chip on his shoulder. I saw his little sassy interview, and look out for Kentucky. I'm going Kentucky here.
I agree with that.
Now, Notre Dame, West Virginia. This could be a scrap it out game. You got Press Virginia against what I consider a really high-flying Notre Dame team. I am going to go with Huggy Bear here. I think Bob Huggins has been here, done that. Not that Notre Dame hasn't. They're playing really good ball and have been. But I've watched West Virginia battling it out through the Big 12, fighting it out with KU, and I just don't think Notre Dame has got enough to outlast them. So I'm going West Virginia here.
I totally agree with that. And I think that Michigan game that Notre Dame's going to have to fight it out with is going to maybe wound them a lot more than people think. And I think West Virginia, coming off a Stephen F. Austin win, they're going to be ready to go. And I just don't see that West Virginia's going to drop a game there, and I think they're going to beat Notre Dame.
All right. Well, then, is this you or me?
I guess
you take it.
This is me. Okay, so we've got Pittsburgh going up against Xavier, and Pitt coming out of the ACC, and you've got Xavier coming out of the Big East. Both pretty good programs. I'm going to go with Xavier. I just think they're a little bit better team right now, and I'm going to go with Xavier.
Well, the question of the day is it Xavier or Xavier? No, I'm joking. It doesn't matter.
Well,
it's the team that
I think it's both.
The team that starts with the letter X. I'm going Xavier over Pitt.
Yeah, you can just put X on your bracket, and everyone will know.
All right, so our breakdown now, we've got North Carolina versus Kentucky and West Virginia versus Xavier.
Yes.
Is that what you've got?
That's exactly what I have.
All right, why don't you jump in there?
Okay, well, we've got North Carolina versus Kentucky. Huge matchup. Very good.
Great game.
Good, historic team. All-Americans, NBA talent, great Hall of Fame coaches. You can't say enough about each program. These are arguably the best.
You got Roy Williams and Calipari.
Arguably the best programs in the country, along with KU and others. Honestly, I just like North Carolina. I know that it's hard to pick against Kentucky.
Yeah.
I just am going to go with North Carolina because I think they kind of have something a little bit more than what Kentucky's got.
I agree with you there, and it's hard to pick against Kentucky. You know, they had so much pressure last year, and then they didn't win it all, so I kind of feel like Calipari is ready to come back and just, I don't want to say redeem himself, but just come in and get his W this time. But I just think North Carolina is too solid all the way around, so I'm going with North Carolina.
I agree
and
with
then
that.
on the bottom, we've got West Virginia versus Xavier, and I'm not doing a heart pick here. I'm picking the Big 12 team, but it's not because of my heart. It's because of my eyeball test. West Virginia, folks, if you haven't gotten to see them, Go back, just see if you can Google some of their games. This is a bad business team, so I'm going West Virginia here.
I'm also going West Virginia. They cause a lot of turnovers. They're #1 in turnover ratio in the country. I just think they're going to be too much to handle for Xavier. I do like Xavier as a team,
yeah,
but I just think with how West Virginia plays and how physical they are coming out of the Big 12, I just think it's hard to pick against them, so I'm going West Virginia.
All right, so then we've got North Carolina and West Virginia battling it out coming out of the East to try to get in the Final Four.
Yes.
I'll go first, let you have the last word.
Okay.
North Carolina. I know I'm a Big 12 girl. Everything I've said about West Virginia, I still think is true, but everything I've seen about North Carolina is just a solid team, top to bottom. I just don't think West Virginia's going to get him. It reminds me of West Virginia playing KU, and I just think North Carolina's going to just outlast him there. So I got North Carolina.
I totally agree with that. I think West Virginia is going to have a lot of good games into this tournament, but I think the way that it's going to break down, North Carolina is going to be able to outlast them. I think they've got a little bit deeper bench. I really like Roy Williams. I do like Huggy Bear as well over there in Press, Virginia, but I just think that North Carolina is just overall a little bit better than West Virginia. So therefore, we've got North Carolina coming out of the East.
Coming out of the East.
So we've got KU and North Carolina so far. Out of the South with KU, and out of the East we've got North Carolina. So we've got two teams.
Out of the West we picked OU.
Oh, do we already pick OU?
We already picked OU.
And then we've got OU going out of the West. So right now we've got 3 teams already punched for the Final Four. So far this is really good matchups. I'm excited.
March
I can't
Madness.
wait.
Here we go.
Well, we've got much more from our bracketology. We're going to be bringing you more and coming up with more updates, and hopefully this is exactly what we've got. So hopefully our predictions are right.
Because I need to win the bracket.
We need to win. Well, that's it from us on OTD. We want to say thank you, and we appreciate your time. Thanks for watching, folks.